had politicians for some reason wanting to give amnesty to Haitians, ? This guy is in the Florida 10 district in Orlando, which is probably pretty deep blue, but like, holy fuck. But please get involved and get this guy out of his fucking seat. He said, breaking, the House just passed a 3-year temporary protected status extension for Haiti. This is a huge win for 350,000 Haitian families and proof that doing the right thing is still possible. I'll never stop showing up and fighting for the people. Now on to the Senate. And like, my response was just like, fighting for what people? Because it's clear you're not fighting for Americans and you don't give a shit about Americans. You are an American politician vying for foreign interests. You should not be an American representative because you don't represent Americans. That's crazy, brother.
Hey y'all, amazing news. I just got done voting. The House of Representatives has officially passed extending TPS for Haiti for 3 years.
A government temporary program never being temporary. Name a more iconic duo.
This is a huge win in a Republican Congress. And thank you so much to Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley for her leadership in putting this discharge petition forward. And I'm proud to have co-led this with her. We got Democrats and Republicans together to say it is immoral, it is unjust, it is not right to expel 350,000 of our Haitians, brothers, sisters, and siblings.
If there's more than 350,000 Haitians in the U.S. right now, we need to deport more than 350,000. So, you know, I could potentially agree with you on that one. It's abhorrent to only deport 350,000. We need to get those numbers up, baby.
Who live in this nation to Haiti right now, where what's going on in Haiti is so unique and so singular.
Who cares? I'm not Haitian. That's not my country. Send them back to their country. They can deal with their country's problems. Not my clay, not my issue, brother man.
There's a humanitarian crisis.
If we're gonna say there's a humanitarian crisis in everywhere that's poorer than the United States, then it's like de facto 90% of the world just got the human right to use the United States as an economic zone. We're not doing that! You're getting called a slur.
Our country has to do more to help Haiti. But right now,
why do we have to?
We should not be expelling 350,000 people.
Yeah, we should be expelling more.
It's immoral. It's unjust.
No.
And I'm proud that Democrats and Republicans came together to say we're not going to expel 350,000 of our...
I'm glad that he keeps saying that Democrats and Republicans came together, because that's a red flag that you need to get those Republicans out of fucking office. They're not Republicans. They're Democrats wearing a red color.
Our neighbors, our Haitian brothers, sisters, and siblings to Haiti right now when they're going through a humanitarian crisis. It's unjust, it's immoral, it's evil, it's not right.
He said that like 3 times in under a minute. That's crazy.
And my hope is that this gives you some hope, especially in this crazy time. We're not going to win every fight we get into, but damn it, we got to be in a fight every single day on behalf of the people. Now this bill goes on to the Senate.
That's true. You do have to fight every day in order to figure out how you're going to fuck over the American people next.
But today I'm happy we were able to get this done.
I hate these people, man. The Senate in New Hampshire killed the bill to repeal Refugee Resettlement Program. They had been pushing really hard to repeal the Refugee Resettlement Program, especially because a lot of that money was going to just fill people's pockets who was in part of the program. Because, hey, you get paid a ton of money to just, like, tell refugees to come settle in a certain place. That's crazy. That's crazy. New Hampshire Senate killed legislation that would have ended the state's participation in the federal Refugee Resettlement Program. If legislators had moved forward with the measure, they would have rejected roughly $4.5 million annually in federal funding and prohibited state spending on services that aim to help refugees become economically self-sufficient as quickly as possible. Through the program, nonprofit assists refugees with getting a driver's license, finding a job, learning financial literacy, and other tasks. Why is this necessary? Why is this? It sounds like it would have been a good thing to reject that $4.5 million going towards this, actually. I guess they chose die. The Senate's vote on House Bill 1706 was unanimous and came without debate. During a public hearing, senators from both parties questioned claims that refugees usurp housing and government services on the taxpayer's dime. Which is really weird. Why would there be anyone on a non-democratic ticket claiming, like, questioning the claim that refugees take housing and government services from taxpayers when it's resoundingly proven that yes, they do? We have so much fraud that's been uncovered. It's insane, man. New Hampshire's Republican state senators currently hold 16 out of 24 seats in the state Senate, securing a veto-proof majority following the November 5th, 2024 election. Chambers led by President Sharon Carson and Majority Leader Regina Birdsall. And they show the current Republican members. So it seems really, really interesting that it says here, the vote was unanimous and came without debate. So when they say it's unanimous, do they mean that every single one of these Republican members voted to not repeal the Office of Refugee Resettlement? For what fucking purpose? For what reason would they want to keep that? The Senate's vote on House Bill 1706 was unanimous and came without debate. The Senate's vote. And these are New Hampshire's Republican state senators holding 16 out of 24 seats. Apparently all of them need to be primaried. They all need to be primaried. It's like maybe some of them just like voted with the crowd because they're retarded. I have absolutely no idea, but that does not look good that all of them voted to not repeal that office. I'm also surprised because I see like Victoria Sullivan on here, and Victoria Sullivan has been dragged pretty fucking hard for wanting to, I think it was her that was supporting Campus Carry, right? I thought New Hampshire was one of the good ones. It's pretty fucking great, but I mean, that doesn't mean people don't make mistakes. And he continues. He's saying he wants to thank Osborne, Jason Osborne, Joe Sweeney, Ross Berry, and Matt Drew. The rest of the New Hampshire leadership, the entire R contingent on the House committee, and all of my fellow Republicans in the House, and everyone who showed up to testify. You all did heroic work, and I deeply appreciate it. My disappointment is in the Republicans in the New Hampshire Senate, of course, unbounded. And you said don't blackpill, but I mean, what's the plan from here, I suppose? You know, I'd like to know. Even though large tracts of Europe and many old and famous states have fallen or may fall into the grip of the ferals and all the odious apparatus of democratic rule, we shall not flag or fail. We shall go on in the end. We'll fight in the House, and we'll fight on the seas and oceans. We'll fight with growing confidence and growing strength. We shall defend our culture, whatever the cost may be. We'll fight on beaches, we'll fight on landing grounds, and we'll fight in the fields and in the streets. We'll fight in the hills, and we shall never surrender. I don't know if he did that off the cuff or if he's quoting something, but kind of impressive nonetheless. It's one of the most famous speeches in history. Imagine thinking I would remember that. And someone here said, Republican leadership promised Representative Cochran this bill last year in exchange for his vote on the budget. What is the New Hampshire GOP going to give him now to make up for it? And Travis had responded, hold your fire. I'm not thrilled with the New Hampshire GOP Senate, but the New Hampshire House GOP leadership is doing a great job. It wasn't over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor. I thought that was the Japanese. It's not over now. We will fight on. Stay tuned. That's the joke. The Germans didn't bomb Pearl Harbor. I guess I didn't take it as a joke. Related, people need to read this. The City of Manchester Refugee Resettlement Advisory Committee Report, May 2006. He's quoting Sullivan here. Someone asked Victoria why, and someone else said, I need to hear this response. She's always very reasonable. Someone else said, I've been a donor to her campaign in the past. I generally like where she's at on many issues, but I don't get this at all. She said, this must have been on consent. Ted Gatsis had pushed back on the number of refugees that Manchester was receiving. We just could not handle the influx. He got nowhere. This bill did not come before my committee and I was not following it. I will have to pull it and look into it. I'm not sure what she means by this must have been on consent, because if it says that she voted to not get rid of the Office of Refugee Resettlement, and she's saying that she had no idea what was happening, that seems kind of weird, does it not? I'd love to hear your thoughts on how to improve its odds of passing in the Senate. I watched the quality of life in the Philly area rapidly degrade as refugees were moved in. I don't agree with Travis on many things, but I do think preventing refugees is the single most important issue. It really is. My testimony before the House Committee on the bill. Let's see how long this is. Damn. I will read the opening here. The New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services oversees the state's Refugee Resettlement Program, also known as the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program, under the Office of Health Access. The program is 100% federally funded, and the stated goal is to help refugees achieve economic self-sufficiency and successful integration within 5 years of arrival. We all know that's a lie. There is no integration. And there is no economic self-sufficiency because the more people dependent on the government, the more voters the Democrats get. There is zero evidence to suggest this program works and huge amounts of evidence to suggest that it does not. and burdens New Hampshire citizens with dozens of different costs, including but not limited to welfare payments, unemployment payments, increased school spending, social fragmentation, crime, cultural conflicts between heritage Americans and refugees, and also between refugees of different ethnicities, increased rates of communicable diseases, a housing crisis, and population replacement. Who benefits? Much testimony against this bill will argue that the Refugee Resettlement Program is good for the people it serves. My response is simple. I don't care. Lots of things might be good for Somalis or Haitians or Bhutanese, but the government of the state of New Hampshire does not exist for the benefit of Somalians or Haitians or the Bhutanese. It exists for the benefits of citizens of New Hampshire. The relevant question is, does the refugee program benefit New Hampshire citizens? My answer is no, and more specifically, that the program is very bad for the citizens of New Hampshire. For that reason, we should end it immediately. So I think a good way, instead of having to do a whole bunch of research on your own, is to probably read through all of this, because he links a bunch of different US bills. He links some articles here. He's linking a ton of stuff in his presentation for getting rid of the Refugee Resettlement Program. I would say, find your senator, because apparently it was a unanimous vote, and if it's unanimous, that means they all voted in lockstep. Find your senator, send him an email about why you don't want this, if you're living in New Hampshire, obviously, and I would send along Travis's testimony here with all of this research into why it is bad. Most of these people are not even refugees. They are here to claim an economic status, which makes it even worse, because you're going to get people who are like, oh, but they're just refugees, you must help them. And it's like, well, no, especially when we go back to that article we read the other day about that woman who's like, oh, well, I want refugee status and I've already crossed several other countries to get here, but I can wait a few more years until a more favorable person is in charge of America. A consent comment from that one lady probably meant that it was a unanimous consent vote, which takes one person to object. Hard to tell who was there and who might have objected, no record. That still means, you should message your senator. Obviously, don't be, an asshole. Just be like, hey, this is a bill that I think is important. This is a bill that I think should be passed. We should get rid of the Office of Refugee Resettlement, and link all of Travis's research. I think having a good conversation, if they're a rational person, they should be able to communicate with you. Health and Human Services, Chairman David Rochefort, Vice Chairman Kevin Avard, Regina Birdsell, Suzanne Prentice, Pat Long. How could these 5 people have killed the bill all by themselves? That's kind of crazy. Chairman David Rochefort. District 1. Atkinson and Gilmanton, Academy, Grant, Bath, Benton, Berlin, Bethlehem, Cambridge, Carroll. That's a lot of fucking places. Holy shit. Current committees, Chair, Health and Human Services, Election Law, and Municipal Affairs. Well, serving his first term in the New Hampshire... hopefully his last. Hopefully his last, unironically. That's crazy. The 3 Republicans, District 1, 12, and 19. I love that New Hampshire truly has 4 seasons and look forward to taking part in our many outdoor activities with my family. Man. Oh my god. Alright, back to try to find that post from Travis again. Manchester is facing a $10 million annual education funding cut under a recently passed law that impacts no other community. Representative Erin Kerwin shines a light on how Republicans in Concord are harming local taxpayers and cutting services to students. I don't know, a $10 million education funding cut sounds fucking great for taxpayers, actually. You gotta vote to reduce the school budget, actually. Him just asking to deport Pramila Jayapal. I mean, honestly. Oh, here we go. Okay, I found it. I found his post. And I have a question, all right? So I said, I have a question. How is it that a 5-person committee in Health and Human Services, isn't that where you were trying to cut the Office of Refugee Resettlement from, can unanimously vote to prevent the bill from actually getting voted on by the members of the Senate? I will certainly encourage people to reach out and make the case for how this bill should go forward, but want to understand the process here with the committee and how it is not some kind of conflict of interest. Thank you. As, just get some questions.
Later.
Great question. So the way both the House and Senate work is this. To really dig into each bill would take, 4 to 8 hours per bill. And there literally aren't enough hours in the year to do it. So they divide up into committees. And the committees, 5 to 20 people, are much smaller than the whole body, 25 in the Senate, 400 in the House. So they can meet in parallel. The committees hear bills, deliberate, and then emit the bill with a recommendation. If a bill has a supermajority, e.g. 18 to 2, then the idea is that it is broadly bipartisan. Almost everyone wants it, and there's really no need for a lot more debate. It is placed on something that is called the consent calendar. This is called a calendar, but it's actually just a list of bills. This list hits the body as a whole, and in a time-saving maneuver, the majority leader says basically, hey, we've got 35 bills that almost everyone agrees on, we're good, right? And there's a voice vote, and all 35 or whatever bills are acted on at once. Those that were 20-0 or whatever to pass, OTP, ought to pass, now pass the House with ought to pass. Those that were 19-1 or whatever to fail, ITL, inexpedient to legislate, now get recorded in the House as ITL. The twists say there's a passionate minority that says, yes, I understand that the committee voted against this or for this 19-1 or 20-0, but it's a really good/bad idea and we need to debate it on the floor. They can make a motion to remove it from consent and the vote ensues. These attempts to remove from consent are usually doomed. If something was 20-0 or whatever in committee, it is unlikely that you can find 201 votes in the House to remove it from consent, but it does happen. So I suspect what happened with HB 1706, haven't checked it yet, is that it was on the consent calendar as ITL, i.e. no, and the Republicans in the Senate either didn't know it was in a big pile of bills on the consent calendar or didn't care and voted the whole stack. Interesting. This makes a lot of sense about why it was voted down and why Sullivan had no idea that it was voted in that way, I guess. And she was like, I need to check on it. So what exactly, where exactly do we go from here, I guess, is the question. This is supposedly why they hated Marjorie Taylor Greene and a few other people. They made the federal Congress have to vote on everything and recorded, not this auto-pass nonsense. It's gonna be one of the most retarded ways of running things you think you've ever heard of. I think it kind of makes sense in a way. Like, it's still weird to me to have, like, a small committee just decide for everyone whether something is worth discussing or not, but it makes sense if there's, like, hundreds of bills and just not enough time to go over all of them. New Hampshire governor can veto the bill, and that would send it back to legislation, but no guarantee that would happen. Okay, so my question now... Okay, so reading through the thread, if we want this to actually have a chance of passing, write the senators and ask them to bring it to the floor, question mark?
A few moments later.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I wanted to see if there was anything to do, but Travis responded and said, at this point, it's dead on arrival in the Senate, but there are plans. So I guess contacting your senator about the bill won't matter. We'll have to see what there are plans are. Have to see what those are. And then my last tweet here that I brought up was I don't know who Will Sexton is, but I came across this post because of I saw Orrin McIntyre quote retweet it. But this is he just looks like someone who's gonna say something crazy. So I'm kind of not surprised that this came out of this guy's mouth. I've never heard of him before, but apparently he's supposed to be well known. My mods knew who he was. A message to the left as their enemy, a young white man. Cut the race stuff and we'd be with you. Did someone post the fucking meme? They had to have, right? Yeah. If you call yourself leftist, you can get away with embracing non-socialist economic positions and you won't be kicked out of the club by peers. You cannot get away with all of the gay race communism. Therefore, that is what leftism is. I giggle every time I see that because that's pretty fucking true.
Leftists would see this. I don't know why they would hear my politics on this, and maybe they wouldn't want to hear me out because of my more inflammatory statements, but I truly mean this. You would landslide every election from here to really the death of people my age if you just very fucking simply cut the race stuff. That's it. That's it. Just cut the race stuff. Just stop trying to kill me, okay?
That's really funny that he thinks he can argue with people who want him dead by saying, yeah, I just don't want you to kill me. Brother, they're not gonna care if while you're on your knees, you're saying, I wasn't racist, I was on your side. Liberals get the bullet too, man. Like, fucking, you gotta get on board the life raft already.
Like, other than that, most Gen Zers like the idea of taxing the wealthiest.
I think a lot of people like the idea when they say tax the rich because they don't understand what that means. The more taxes you put on people who are incredibly wealthy, the more loopholes they're going to be able to find to get around that. And if your state tries extra squeezing their balls, they're just going to get the fuck out. And you know who's going to become the rich guy after that guy leaves? It's eventually going to come down to you. You're eventually going to be the rich guy. That's why every time a tax the rich policy gets enacted, the rich people, you don't really see too many of them complaining. What you do see are the middle class people who get absolutely fucking shafted. Learn what the laughter curve is, you moron!
Gen Zers would benefit from the idea of taxing the wealthiest, of having education be free.
How is it going to be free? Because it's not. It's not free. Who is going to be paying for it? I don't get it. I don't understand.
Better state-subsidized healthcare, actual investment into families, okay? And by the way, I think most Gen Zers would be willing to concede some things within legal migration and within.
I think that's another question as well. Why is everyone so obsessed with having like state-subsidized healthcare? I don't really want the state deciding whether or not I can get certain treatments. That just doesn't sound fun.
In the demographic makeup of America, I think they'd be willing to concede certain things, okay? But just stop the race stuff, okay? You have beaten and ground down young white men to a pulp, okay? Any, like, privilege that did exist in our society has been ground away, okay? It is, like, completely obvious that out of everyone in our...
Yes, and that's part of the point. Why do you think there were articles saying like how whiteness is the problem, how we need to make places less white, how we need to do things in order to get rid of whiteness because whiteness merely existing is white supremacy? Are you white and you want to date another white person? Let's tell you why that's wrong. Like what?
Society, young white men have it the worst. Like, I'm sorry, but it's true. Maybe you don't want to hear that. I get it, okay? And that's like a foreign idea to you because of media agitprop. It's just a fucking fact, okay? Do you not see them struggling? Like the video we just watched together. In a society...
Stop. You're gonna make people come. You're talking about how hard they've made it and how they've succeeded in denigrating white men. That was the whole point, my guy. Welcome to ZomboCom.
In which that man is genuinely privileged, he wouldn't be making $31,000 a year as a hardworking, honest young man.
He's making $31,000 and that's not going to filling the country with more migrants? Wow, we need to fix that right away.
Man, okay, this is not like a bum. This is not a hobo. A clean, proper young man, like literally in your mind, when you think of like a proper, upstanding American man, you think of that guy, and he's making $31,000 a year. Just stop it. Just fucking stop it, and all of us would like you. Just stop it. Stop the race stuff, okay? Just come on. Like, what are we doing? And by the way, you would achieve more of your aims if you stopped the race stuff. This whole open border so I can get votes pulled.
It's really funny he says that, because I only watched, like, the beginning of this, and then I made my response. So this is really funny based on what I responded to him.
Bullshit. You could get votes instead by all of Gen Z if you just closed the border. And I'm not saying you need to start rounding up people in like based Agarthan Twitter death squads, okay?
Based Agarthan Twitter death squads. I mean, the right-wing safety squads, am I right, man?
Hey, like anybody reasonable in politics is not asking you to become like that. Be normal. That's all it takes is just be fucking normal. Like, no, importing most of the world for cheap foreign labor is not good for the American worker. Like, it's not good for the American worker of any race. Let me make that very clear. It's not good for Black Americans, not good for Hispanic Americans. It's not.
So not only does he not understand that the whole point is to just get rid of the white dudes and then just white people in general, but he also doesn't understand that the people doing this also just hate Americans. You're not going to convince them to stop hating Americans and put other people above Americans, especially when they're an American politician, apparently.
Not good for anybody. It is literally only good for the wealthiest of our society. So just stop it. Like, why do you hate me? There's no reason to hate me.
Well, I mean, I don't hate you. You're just kind of dumb. But my response was Will and those like him are not going to make it. Those on the left pushing the enemy distinction have already shifted the messaging several years ago. The Marxist left works with subversion of language. And like I said, it was very interesting when he said, was around here.
Stop the race stuff, okay? Just come on. Like, what are we doing? And by the way, you would achieve more of your aims if you stopped the race stuff, this whole open board.
You would achieve more of your aims if you stopped with the race stuff. He's going to get completely one-shot by their new messaging. Because guess how they've shifted their messaging? They've shifted their messaging to, oh, we were very close to our full cultural takeover. However, there's still too many people against it. What we need to do is stop making white men feel excluded and demonized and bring them into the fold so that they can help us usher in the cultural transformation too. And like I was saying, that's exactly the language that they're shifting. They realized, hey, we need white men to help us usher in the communist revolution. We can't just keep pushing them out and telling them that they're evil, even though they actually are. So we need to figure out a way to lie to them efficiently enough that they will also walk in lockstep with us to get our cultural desires pushed into the mainstream. And they just admit this out loud. They just say this. You don't need a crystal ball. You don't need to infer. You don't need to assume. You don't need to hypothesize. They just tell you that's what they're doing.
Our early models, here's the other problem, were binary. Remember how we grew up? You were white or you were black. You were old or you were young. You were male or you were female. You were American or you were immigrant. You were liberal or you were conservative. You were gay or you were straight. That was a binary world. We built our platforms, our ways of thinking about diversity and inclusion. We thought about it in binary terms, and that just doesn't work anymore. Interest in diversity goes far beyond traditional differences. There are now at least 30, and I'm saying 30 different recognized dimensions of diversity. Things have changed over 30 years, and business, HR in particular, has done a very, very poor job communicating this change, much less responding to it. So, my friends, it's time for a revisit, a reset, and re-envisioning of DE&I.
As a reminder, this was back in 2024 when SHRM dropped the E for equity from their acronym. And it caused a lot of true believer acolytes to flip the fuck out because they didn't know what to do without one of the important stimuli to react to.
We don't need to eliminate it. For those CEOs who says DEI must die, they are lunatics. Like, that is insane. Of course we have an incredibly diverse workforce and we need this work. We're only going to become more diverse. But we do need to rethink it in 21st century terms. At SHRM, for example, we now refer to inclusion and diversity. We're going to keep...
Once again, just in case you haven't been here for a lot of the other streams where we've gone through all of this bridge and SHRM stuff, when they say diversity, quite literally, embedded in their white papers, they say, in no uncertain terms, means less white people. That is what diversity is.
We're going to become more diverse. But we do need to rethink it in 21st century terms. At SHRM, for example, we now refer to inclusion and diversity. We're going to keep it simple. Yes, we're going to always focus on D, but we're going to lead with inclusion because we need a world where inclusion is front and center, and that means inclusion for all, not some people. Everyone has a right to feel that they belong in the workplace and that they are included. And if we think the game that we played over 30 years, which is to make some people feel badly about what they have done or their ancestors have done or whatever.
I wonder who those some people could possibly be. We may never know.
If you think that's going to solve a problem, it didn't work over 30 years. So by definition, we've got to adapt a new approach. We're going to channel our inner buffalo, right? And help our workforces and our society get to the other side and realize all of the benefits of our wonderful diversity because our diversity is our strength. And anyone who doesn't understand that doesn't understand business. But let's be clear. Putting a strong focus on inclusion and diversity right now is going to take some courage. In fact, I can imagine right now I'm going to be attacked online right now, this second, because there are people who think, let's kill this thing. We want it to go away. My friends, we can't be intimidated, but we have to have the courage of our knowledge.
Spicy cat raid. What the hell is a spicy cat raid?
IND must work for all employees, businesses, customers, and the economy in our society, and we have to prove it. We're going to run headlong into this truth with everything that we've got, and I need your help.
I like that frame that his face is making. But people People like this guy are gonna get absolutely one shot by the messaging above. They're going to see, oh, wait a minute, these people realize that they can't actually be racist like they have been. They realize that denigrating white people in general, and especially white men, is actually bad. See, they really were just retarded, but now they're going to include us and everything can be great. I could not imagine being that soup-brained to, like, think that anything you just heard would be genuine. Yeah, it's like, just listening to the way he spoke, I was like, this messaging is going to get a lot of people. And that is so very unfortunate for those of us trying to fight against DEI, because they put this messaging out years ago. Again, this is from the SHRM conference in 2024. Bridge has been talking about this kind of inclusion since 2023. So that was another tweet I wanted to bring up, because, like, holy fuck, how does this keep happening? We have more Democrats wearing Republican skin. There was the House voted 224 to 204 to pass a 3-year extension of the temporary protected status for 350,000 Haitians living in the U.S. 10 House Republicans plus 1 independent voted with Democrats to pass it. We obviously have Rep. Maria Salazar, the liar-in-chief, saying that her amnesty bill isn't actually an amnesty bill. Rep. Don Bacon, Republican Nebraska, I think is any. Unfortunate that he has a cool last name, but he's a cuck. Rep. Brian Fitzpatrick, Republican Pennsylvania. Representative Carlos Jimenez, Republican Florida. Nicole Maliotakis, Republican New York. Mario Diaz-Balart, Republican Florida. Mike Lawler, Republican New York. Mike Turner, Republican Ohio. Rich McCormick, Republican Georgia. Mike Carey, Republican Ohio. And Kevin Kiley, Independent, California. Democrats broke out into applause after it passed. These are very important people to remove from their seats of power. Very important people to run against and try and win. Kevin Kiley used to be a Republican, though he never was. And this is also the thing that fucking tans my hide. If you have all of these people who are essentially Democrats, but they have a red color on them instead, which, you know, ironically, communist color is red too. Why is it that so many people start reeing like banshees when someone else, like, say, Jeremy Kaufman, posits that maybe we should run libertarian candidates as Republicans, since it seems like a free-for-all for every other political party? Why are there people who ree like retards? Because it just seems like that's a winning strategy. Why would we continuously let Democrats take over Republican seats instead of trying to put people in Republican seats who actually want to do something for the good of this country? Representative Nicole Maliotakis, Republican New York, tells Fox News why she voted yes. Look, I have a lot of healthcare workers in my district that are of Haitian descent. Hot take, I would not want to see a Haitian doctor, brother man, that are on TPS and my nursing homes. My healthcare facilities have said that they're going to lose skilled staff at a time when there is a shortage. If someone checks their parent into a nursing home staffed with Haitians, that person hates their parent. That person wants to hasten the time with which their parent dies. That's like, what are we doing here? Nursing homes, that's not good, right? Like, what the fuck? And so it's the right thing to do for my district, for the healthcare facilities I represent. And plus, you're going to send these individuals back to a country where it's still in peril. Yeah, not my country, not my problem. They had temporary protected status. Send them the fuck home. It doesn't make any sense. I think that there needs to be a thoughtful approach. The thoughtful approach is deport them. The non-thoughtful approach is what comes after you don't deport them. What are you talking about? This person finishes off saying, it doesn't make any sense. I think there needs to be a thoughtful approach. And if these individuals are here paying taxes, working, contributing to our economy, fulfilling a healthcare need, then their status should be extended. No! No, it was temporary. They shouldn't still be here. Revoke it, send them home, train Americans. Holy fuck. GOP leaders say no income tax, not now, not ever. Dems call the anti-tax amendment a stunt. You know, I would like to have an anti-tax amendment, you know? Whether they think it's a stunt or not, I think it would be a good thing to have this enshrined, unironically. If you get rid of all the federal taxes like income, they will get their money from your property taxes. We've only had income tax in this country since like 1913, There was a temporary period in the late 1800s where they instituted like a 3%, I think it was, income tax to sort of rebuild part of the economy after one of the wars. And then, like we used to be a real country, that temporary income tax actually went away after, I think it was like 6 or 7 years or some shit. And then we didn't get another income tax until 1913. And we've just had that ever since. Prior to that, tariffs made up a lot of the money that the government made, which is why, even though we had some things go up in price when Trump instituted tariffs, I really liked the fact that he was trying to combat the other countries and make them pay more than what we are. I liked that. I was like, yeah, treat them more fairly. And now, if we got rid of income tax, sure, I could see some people in the government arguing that we need to take property taxes to pay for foreigners, but hopefully, by that point in time, if we can get enough people in the government to repeal the income tax, hopefully those are smart enough people that they wouldn't start using property taxes for federal things. GOP leaders led the hearing on an amendment to CACR 12 that would permanently ban an income tax in New Hampshire if voters approve a change to the state constitution, with a steady chorus of no income tax, not now, not ever. Some gave no other testimony before the House Ways and Means Committee Wednesday. Just the same mantra that over the years has become known as the pledge, demanded of candidates from both parties who feared not getting elected if they even hinted at any new tax for New Hampshire. Good. Politicians should fear this. If politicians do not fear their constituents, they become selfish, bloated overlords who don't do anything for their constituents. As more people grow concerned about dramatically increasing local property taxes and how much power free staters and libertarians have as Republicans in the legislature, shifting costs to local property taxpayers, the demand for a fair tax system is growing. You know, this is really my property taxes are very high. They're ridiculously high. And they also just got voted to be reduced this year. So yeah, the word fair with heavy quotes. It's doing some fucking lifting. For sure. Sarah Mathis, thank you. All transfer taxes, sales, income, inheritance are an argument that the government is entitled to your labor. Land taxes are just renting national land from the nation. Every argument for rent is an agreement for land taxes. Yeah, and I don't want it. I don't want property taxes. And Mazurkonis, thank you. You'd rather pay both property and sales tax before federal income tax, even if that means having your rear reamed by those taxes. You hate income tax. Also, behind is censored. That's really funny. That's really funny. It's like when I think about it, it's like, would I rather spend, like, let's just use some astronomical numbers, right? Would I rather spend $300,000 in income tax or $10,000 in property tax? I think that's a fucking no-brainer, brother. I think that is a no-brainer question. Obviously the property tax. At the hearing Wednesday, essentially a do-over of the House vote on roughly the same measure that failed to get the required 60% of the vote 5 weeks ago, about 100 people gathered to testify Wednesday with Republican leaders marching to the anti-tax drumbeat for much of the hearing. House Majority Leader Jason Osborne, R. Auburn, said, "We are affectionately referring to this as the New Hampshire Advantage Amendment." He noted that it did not recently pass 60% muster in the House with a vote of 198 to 154, but was worth revisiting. Osborne, who moved to New Hampshire in 2010 as part of the Free State movement, said, "When we disincentivize productive behavior, work, earning, our civilization becomes poor and people suffer. For years, we've seen people move here from our neighboring states, Massachusetts, Vermont, and Maine. They come for many reasons," he said, such as quality of life, but the lack of an income tax is the main reason for many. Do we trust the people of New Hampshire to decide those issues for themselves by placing the question on the ballot? Osborne asked. It would require a 2/3 majority vote to change the state constitution if it gets to the ballot. Representative Kelly Ayotte issued a press release Wednesday. New Hampshire is a beacon of freedom and opportunity because we've held the line against an income tax. A constitutional amendment to make it permanent ensures that our state won't go the way of Massachusetts. No income tax, not now, not ever. And I can agree with adding something like this, because if we already have Democratic representatives suggesting an income tax, they're probably going to try to do more than just suggest it as more years go by and more transplants escaping Massachusetts and Maine end up coming here. And I would imagine that they could slide in an income tax as long as they make it lower than what the income tax is in Massachusetts or Maine. And I wouldn't want them to do that because eventually they would probably make it catch up to, if not exceed, what the income tax is in Mass and Maine. They would get addicted to the extra income that they now have, and I don't want to see that. Following the hearing, House Democratic leader Alexis Simpson, D. Exeter, said today's hearing is further proof that Granite Staters are sick of Republican extremism and partisan political games in Concord. What? Nobody should want an income tax. What do you mean? Repeated corporate tax cuts passed by the GOP have reduced revenue over $1 billion over the past decade, forcing property taxpayers to pick up the tab. This stunt does nothing to change that. House Democrats are committed to delivering real results for Granite Staters by fighting for our fair chance agenda. An income tax has not and will not be considered. Well, good, then we can just add it. If you're not considering it, then it's no problem to say we'll never have one, right? And this is how it's probably going to be proposed, right? They're saying that since the GOP has cut revenue from like corporate taxes, property taxpayers are having to have increased property taxes, which first of all doesn't make sense to me, but second of all, saying that we're going to introduce an income tax to offset your high property taxes. Anyone who falls for that is a fucking retard. House Democrats are committed to delivering real results for Granite Staters by fighting for our fair chance agenda. An income tax has not and will not be considered. The release said House Republicans filed over 500 bills for the 2026 session. A constitutional amendment banning an income tax wasn't one of them. It wasn't a top 500 policy issue to the GOP. This proposal was hastily introduced last month. Yeah, that's because that there was a Democrat guy who was suggesting an income tax potentially being useful. You know, even if he's not proposing a bill right now, the fact that he's merely posing it should worry people. That would explain why it was something hastily cobbled together, because it's like, hey, this guy is wanting to do a nuclear option. We should get in front of this and make sure he can't do that. If your income has reduced, then reduce the budget and nobody has to foot the bill, damn it. True, also true. It also said the New Hampshire House has considered 22 constitutional amendments so far this year and passed 0. Republicans know this November will be costly to them due to Trump's unpopularity. Ooh. This is a last-ditch effort to give a depressed party with unenthusiastic voters a reason to turn out, the release said. This is how you know the people in the Democratic Party quite literally hate you. They're just like, yeah, we know we're gonna win because your voter base is unenthusiastic. We know our guys will vote for us no matter fucking what. Well, you guys have fair weather voters who aren't going to come together and vote for any sort of purpose. They actually just hate you. Senate President Sharon Carson, Republican Londonderry, greeted committee members and said, "My testimony is very short and to the point. No income tax, not now, not ever. Thank you very much," she said, greeted by applause, which the attendees were asked to stop for the remainder of the hearing. Why are they not allowed to clap? This is America. Representative Ross Berry, Republican Ware, said that he was casually dressed at the hearing because he had to go back to work and explained why he was happy to do so. "This is an income tax-free state. We get to keep what we earn," Berry said. "If you want New Hampshire to keep thriving, if you want people to keep moving here and starting their businesses, you need to keep this in place," Berry said in support of the amendment. This was actually like the biggest thing, right? You guys have heard me say it a million times as I've been looking for houses, where it's like, yeah, I would like to be close to my family. However, Massachusetts has a fucking million different taxes. So if I could find an affordable place in New Hampshire, that would be just objectively better because of how much less I would pay in taxes. Senator Darrell Abbas, Republican Salem, said the only people who support an income tax have the misconception it will lower their property taxes. I'm glad he said the same exact fucking thing I did. If you believe that instituting an income tax where there previously was none will lower your property taxes, you are a fucking idiot. Like, full offense, objectively, you were just not smart enough to be part of the voting system. Committee member Representative Susan Elberger, Democrat Nashua, asked Abbas about the Cut Our Property Taxes Group's 3-3 tax plan presented last month by lawyer and school funding advocate Andrew Valinsky. The plan prompted death threats on social media. Is this a fucking retard that suggested the income tax and then basically was told he should get hung? Elberger said using the plan's tax calculator, her property taxes would go down $2,500. Yeah, but how much will you be paying in income tax, you retard? It would create a 3% education income tax with a 3% statewide property tax that the group says would lower local property taxes, help fund schools statewide, and raise $1 billion a year in revenue. You see, I never even thought this could happen. So like when I was asking questions, and I was told like, oh yeah, there was a recent vote and people picked the school budget that would lower property taxes instead of increasing the school budget. I was like, that's crazy. I've never heard of anywhere where like people actually vote for taxes to go down. That's crazy. I mean, that means there's like a conglomerate of people with brains living in one area. That's nuts. The group said it would lower local property taxes, help fund schools statewide, and raise $1 billion a year in revenue. Abbas said he has seen the plan and insisted property taxes will still go up. The bulk of people's property taxes are for funding the school districts. Like, the bulk of them are for the school. No matter, like, the amount that go to, like, public works, like the fire department and the police and the roads and whatnot, is minuscule in compared to the amount that the school districts get. So yes, absolutely property taxes will still go up, because it doesn't matter if you're getting another 3% tax to give to the schools, they're gonna want more and more fucking money. In an op-ed published on indepthnewhampshire.org, Valinsky said the amendment makes William Loeb's anti-tax pledge the law of the land for New Hampshire. It would be a huge mistake to tie the hands of all future leaders in this way, and that's probably why the Jason Osborne Free State crowd supports the amendment. Can you explain to me? I don't know who the fuck William Loeb is. Fucking Loeb in the AI, may she never know peace. But they say his anti-tax pledge would become the law of the land. How in the fuck is it an anti-tax when it's a 3-3 tax plan introducing a new income tax? What in the fuck are you talking about, brother man? That does not sound anti-tax to introduce new tax. Laura Ruddle Miller, a Keene city councilor, said she wants to reframe the question. It's not about whether people love or hate taxes. This is about whether we are constitutionally going to restrict the ability of future lawmakers and voters on how they decide to fund services. Yes, we should. We should absolutely restrict future lawmakers from implementing more taxes. That's like as American as you can get. What do you mean? The House Ways and Means Committee will decide on a recommendation for the amendment when it meets on April 27th. Yes, restrict them base. Yes, they must be restricted. That is liberty in action to restrict them. Father of a man killed on Primrose Hill says he was proud to live in diverse London. I'm so sick of these parents not giving a shit when their kids are killed. Like, what the fuck, man? The 65-year-old father of Finbar Sullivan, who was fatally stabbed in Primrose Hill last Tuesday, has spoken out against racist reactions to his son's death. The 21-year-old was testing a new camera with friends in the park when he was killed, with suggestions the murder was evidence of wider issues of violence plaguing the capital. Since the killing, various media outlets were forced to disable comments after racist responses appeared regarding the suspect's ethnicity. Let me guess, they were Pakistani? Chris Sullivan told the New Journal he refuses to allow his son's name to fuel hateful rhetoric, insisting he's proud to live in a diverse London, and that Finbar will be remembered as a beacon of peace and love. If I got murdered by people who shouldn't even be in my country in the first place, and my father said some shit like this, I would dedicate my entire afterlife to haunting my father and any other sons he may have produced thereafter. Like, no. This is how you show you care more about anyone else besides your close family. This is insane. This is an in-fucking-sane thing to say. This is just as, if not worse, than fucking that one cuck father from the Carmelo Anthony situation. I can't even remember his fucking name. It just makes me so mad every time I think of him. He said, the hate should not be directed at minorities. It's the government and the Met Police. They're the ones to blame, not immigrants, not black kids. I mean, like, I could agree to an extent, but like, the government and the police aren't the ones making them do crime. They're just the ones bringing all the foreigners here and then not arresting them when they do crime. If I hear anything to the contrary, I'm going to really go to town with them, because Finn, above all, was proud to be a Londoner, Proud of this multiracial, wonderful place we are. London! He stressed that the identity of his son's killer is irrelevant to understanding the crime. He said it doesn't matter where Finbar's killer comes from, his color, race, creed, it's nothing to do with that. It's a class thing. And it's been created by the government. Is he just, like, excusing his son's death? Oh, they were just poor and disenfranchised from a third world shithole. And my son was white, so he was privileged. Therefore, I'm sad that he died, but in the grand scheme of things, it's the class struggle that matters. Mr. Sullivan argued that young people have been abandoned, unable to access housing, employment, or university education, leaving them without hope for the future. I wish you could see the hand movements I'm doing towards the screen as this man has a young son unable to access housing or employment or university education. He was left without hope for the future. What do you mean? I hate these people. My son being killed made someone else happy. How? How do you have this fucking mentality? It bewilders me. I don't even have kids, and I know that I would prioritize my kids over someone else. He also criticized media coverage for exacerbating the problem with harmful rhetoric around knife crime. What? I really blame the media for a lot of what's happened to this country. If these revolting newspapers keep on saying knife crime, knife crime, knife crime, kids are going to carry knives, he said. I'm not even sure what to say. This guy has like literally 55 IQ. What is he even saying? Yeah, just jaw-droppingly stupid. What the fuck? Imagine what it's like when you're 20 and you can't walk down the street without looking over your shoulder. Wait a minute. So he's saying it's the newspaper's fault for informing people about how often knife crime happens. And so that younger people at age 20 will see how much knife crime is being reported in the newspapers and think they need a way to defend themselves. And somehow, the 20-year-olds looking for a way to defend themselves are what this guy thinks is the problem? And that more people are carrying knives and just randomly stabbing people because they wanted them for self-defense? This guy's so fucking dumb. I cannot even fathom what it is like to live life with a brain so diluted and smooth. At this point, you're convinced this guy is actually glad his son got murdered? Yes, same. What the fuck? Mr. Sullivan pointed to conservative government cuts to youth services as a key factor, arguing teenagers have been left without safe spaces. Safe spaces, or lack thereof, are not what got your son murdered in the park. You know what should be a safe space? The fucking park! What are we talking about? As an artist, writer, and DJ, oh, no wonder he's so fucking retarded. Mr. Sullivan established Soho's legendary WAG Club in 1982, and more recently founded Artists for Gaza, which has organized fundraising concerts featuring Paul Weller and Suggs from Madness. Who the fuck are these people? A forthcoming event expected in May will serve as a memorial to Finbar. That's crazy how little this guy seems to care that his son was killed. But he'll use his son's death to make money for some sort of club thing. Holy shit. A crowdfunding campaign has raised approximately £25,000 for the family since the murder. Hot take, if you basically act callous towards your son and encourage the conditions that got him killed to continue, nobody should be giving you money. It should end at, I have sympathy for your son because he was a victim, but you, sir, are a cuck and deserve nothing. Mr. Sullivan expressed his intention to establish a charity supporting bereaved families who lack wealthy connections to help them through such tragedies. Or you could deport the people killing your children. 3 men have been charged with murder. Oh, come the fuck on! Come on, man! You fucking... Aliu Wada Milola Oganyakinu, 27. Alexis Bidace, 25. And Ernest Boating, 25. Oganyakinu has failed to enter a plea, however previously denied the charge at a prior court hearing. The latter two appeared at Wimbledon Magistrates Court on Wednesday and were remanded in custody, where they did not enter any formal pleas to the charges during the short hearing. Anna Wright, defending, said they deny participation in the alleged murder. The men spoke only to confirm their names, addresses, and age before District Judge Daniel Benjamin remanded them to appear at the Old Bailey later today. Additionally, Khalid Abdul Qadir, 18, faces charges of grievous bodily harm with intent, violent disorder, and knife possession. Why was there like a fucking random Star Wars 18-year-old with like almost 30-year-old people? So this is the UK, they'll probably be let out and given a free house and pension and an award, probably. They're just like, well, you only managed to kill one white man, so we could have given you a free house, but we're only gonna give you free rent for right now. Maybe next time, if you kill more, you'll get a better bonus. Sad my son got stabbed to death, but I hope that the foreigners who stabbed him had more fun stabbing him than I am sad, so the overall happiness went up in the world. Unironically, what this father is saying in this article. Fucking crazy. He is due next to appear in Inner London Crown Court for a plea hearing on May 12th. The Met Police claim to be prioritizing knife crime through targeted patrols in hotspot areas, enhanced by data-driven mapping, stop-and-search powers, and increased officer deployment to tackle serious violent offenses. Yeah, whenever I hear about the police in the UK targeting fucking knife crime. Whenever I hear about them targeting knife crime, I just think about when that civilian had a foreigner detained who was stabbing people, and then the cop detained the native Briton who tried to stop the foreigner from stabbing people, and then the foreigner stabbed the cop. Like that's pretty much what the UK just is now. That was Germany. You think that was Germany? Was it Germany? Oh, they're all blending together. All the police forces in Europe are blending together at this point. That was Germany, and that wasn't actually what happened in that case? Was it not? I'm pretty sure. Let me look it up. Why does this guy look like the Quartering? Hold on, wait a minute. What was the Quartering doing that day? A spoon with an extended mag. Police officer fighting for his life after being stabbed by knifemen who injured 6 in German city as video shows wounded cop mistakenly tackled victim, allowing attacker to continue his rampage before being shot dead. Mistakenly? Or the cop just didn't want to be called racist. After being stabbed by a knifeman who injured 6 others in a German city. The attacker went on a rampage and stabbed a well-known Islam critic, a police officer, and several bystanders at an anti-Islam rally in Mannheim, Germany, which was live-streamed on YouTube this morning. The officer remains in critical condition after undergoing emergency surgery for multiple hours for 2 stab wounds to the head. The knifeman was shot by officers at the scene. See, I'm surprised they still allow German police officers to have guns. The officer remains in critical condition after undergoing emergency surgery for multiple hours for 2 stab wounds to the head. The knifeman was shot by officers at the scene and has been named by local outlet Der Spiegel as Sulaiman A, a 25-year-old who was born in Herat, Afghanistan, and lived in the Hesse state. He has undergone surgery and remains in hospital. It is believed the authorities were not previously aware of him. Well, the force was criticized on social media for their handling of the situation after it appeared that the injured officer tackled one of the victims of the attack, seemingly misunderstanding the unfolding situation. No, that just seems par for the course. I'm gonna be real. The video showed that this gave the knifeman an opportunity to stab the officer as his back was turned before the attacker was shot dead. Yeah, so it is exactly as I said. He was arresting the citizen. I didn't know the citizen was a victim, so it's even worse than what I said. He was arresting a victim of the knife stabber to then just get stabbed to death by the stabber. While overall, police recorded knife offenses fell 9% in England and Wales in the year ending in September 2025, they remain a top priority. See, I don't even know if I can trust these kinds of statistics anymore, because I know in the US, we fudge our statistics in many different ways. And now, when police aren't even arresting people, or if they arrest them, they just let them go immediately. Like, we just don't record things as much anymore. So did they fall 9% because something was actually done about it? Or did they fall 9% because they're just not being reported as much? I would put money on the latter. A Met spokesman said, "Our thoughts are with Finbar's family and friends during their devastating loss. We understand the concern this incident has also caused in the wider community and has increased the number of officers on patrol in Primrose Hill to provide reassurance and respond to any offending. Our Royal Parks officers have been integrated into local community policing teams. In Camden, a dedicated local neighborhood team regularly patrols Primrose Hill and surrounding areas. This forms part of a wider policing approach that has cut crime across the Royal Parks by 27%. Compared to the same period last year. Yeah, I just don't believe you're doing a good job at all, Mr. UK policeman. And I think this father is absolutely fucking disgusting for the way that he's viewing his son's murder. Like, this is not somebody who is family. This is just a gross individual.